Racing and building a car can be expensive, but I don't need to tell you that. Did you know that there are ways that you can offset the cost of this? And it's not just for the high-end race teams, the NASCARs, the high-end NHRAs, or the Chip Fooses of the world. There are ways that you can do it starting in your own garage. Now, the single best starting point is actually a book called You Can Have a Sponsor, a racer's guide on how to get a sponsor. And this is the foundation for everything I'm going to talk about. And it can help you get your race car sponsored, offset the cost of the race season, even offset the costs on building your hot rod in your own garage. But honestly, how do we know if you even want a sponsor in the first place? Well, if you want to offset the costs or even profit on your racing, your hot rod build, all the above, you may want to seek a sponsor. If you want to grow and create a positive impact in this world, having a sponsor can definitely help that. But what are some reasons why you may not want to pursue that? You may feel it's not worth the time investment to do this, and that's okay. You may view this as only a hobby, and that's totally okay. Not everyone has to seek a sponsor for their builds or their racing program. It's just one way to help offset the costs. So how does a sponsor even want to work with you in the first place? Well, best place to start is your personal brand. What do you stand for? What do you do? Do you create an impact, or are you one of those people that may be a little rough around the edges? These are things that can impact how a brand wants to work with you. Now, as a direct example, think about some other racing teams compared to a person like Whistling Diesel. Think about brands that want to work with there. A person, having your personal brand, are you working to provide great value, or are you just looking to get free parts for your car? There's a difference there. And who you are really affects how sponsors treat you and how they want to work with you and how they're willing to support you and your efforts. Your personal brand is probably the single best place to start. If you can show that you're constantly adding value to your audience, growing, doing good things in your community, those are things that brands really want to see. Before we get into how to find a sponsor, let's talk about some of the kinds of sponsors that you're going to run across. The three main types are an affiliate, a parts or tool sponsor, and the third one that everyone wants is cash or money. Now, the interesting thing is that all three of these can turn into money if you do it right. My personal favorite kind of sponsor is actually an affiliate sponsor, meaning you use something. You talk about something. You use it all the time in your racing program, in everything you do, tools you use day to day. You can approach a sponsor directly, and many of them have a program already called an affiliate program where you can get a link, and as you talk about things, as people are looking for things, you can give them the link, and you get a commission off of that product that they buy. That's probably my favorite kind of sponsor. Parts and tools, this is one of those things where they may offer you a product, a tool, a part to go on your race car to be able to show as part of your build. That gives them promotion for new products, existing products that are lesser known, that kind of thing. Now, cash, we know what that's about. They give you money as part of their advertising budget to promote. They give the money to you so that way you can promote them throughout your endeavors. That's people view it as the holy grail, but it's just one of those things. It's actually a business transaction for advertising. You're advertising them through your efforts. So it just depends. You have to keep in mind what it is that you're looking to do and how it relates to your audience. Because if you don't have an audience, a sponsor is not really going to be all that interested if you're not out there actively promoting or using or even doing things that bring value to your audience. So how do you find sponsors? This is simultaneously extremely simple and very difficult. The answer is relationships. It's about who you know. It's about who do you work with regularly? Are there businesses that already you work with to support your racing habit? Do you have independent part stores? Do you have construction companies nearby that you personally do business with that you would feel comfortable recommending? That's probably the best place to start if you already have a relationship built. Now, if you don't have a relationship built, it's best to start working in that direction, being involved in your community, being involved in the same kinds of things that those businesses are, to be able to put you in a position to interact with those businesses and people involved with making those financial decisions for marketing budgets and advertising. Now, that sounds way more complicated than it really is, but the answer is just build relationships. Seek to add value to everyone you come across. You see a common theme here by adding value to your audience and the people that are supporting you. That's really all this is a value game. So what are sponsors ultimately looking for? What do you have to offer them? This is a game that's more about them than it is about you, the individual that's seeking the sponsorship opportunity. What are you trying to do? Basically, a sponsor wants a 3-to-1 return on investment, meaning if they give you $100, for example, the best thing you can do is to turn around and give them $300 worth of value, whether that's leads that are going to have work performed as a construction company, for an example, or products that you're actively out there. By providing a 3-to-1 value, that is kind of the basis for everything right there. Now, how can you do this? You can solve one of their pain points. You can solve a pain point. You can help them fix a problem with the skills you already have. Now, this could be simple things like, hey, I just need more leads. That's cool, especially if you know people already who are looking for those kinds of products and services. You connect the dots and bring people to them. Now, largely, the same rules apply for your audience. If you are constantly working to add value to them, then a sponsor is going to look more favorably at you and say, yes, I want to work with you because you're already doing things that they approve of. So it's a two-way street. Your efforts are to constantly add value everywhere you go. So I've kind of touched on this already, but what are ways that you can show value to your sponsor? Community involvement. You're out there, you're actively taking part in the community, doing the best you can do to be a good person and bring value. There's our favorite term again, being out there, working with people and making their lives better. Another thing you can do is to make content to solve problems. And my intent is not to make all of you or anyone out there into a content creator, but being able to put out things that solve problems is probably the best way that you can show value to a sponsor. Other ways is by having your products used all the time, being honest with your dealings and say, yeah, this product is fantastic. This is how you get a hold of them. That's probably the best way to do it. One of the best ways right there. Now, another way to do it, and this takes a little bit more work, and believe me, I'm not a web designer myself, but having a website with info and products that you work with all the time, ways for people to get in touch with you and be able to do things. Having a website for your car builds is one way that you can get show value to your sponsors. You're showcasing the things that you do, whether that's your car build and how that works. And I'm not saying you ever have to be a Riddler winner, but if you're constantly showing that you're growing, you're putting things out there, you're doing the best you can, that's a good way to go. Same thing with your racing. If you're constantly out there showing your involvement, showing how you're doing things, being able to promote your own efforts and say, yeah, I'm here. These are all my sponsors. These are the people that support me. That's a good way to go. So there's a lot more to this. By all means, check out the link in the description for the book. You can have a sponsor. That is probably the single book that has changed my life the most. It turned me into a lot of different things. It totally made my perception of the world change and how I go about my relationships with others, how I promote myself on social media, my personal brand, and so many other aspects. Having sponsors isn't hard. There are some things that you just have to do, and believe me, it can look like work, but that's not the end of the world because it's work that can generally lead you to some pretty cool places. That's a story for another day, but believe me, sponsorship can lead to some pretty cool opportunities. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you later.